This is your year to ring in the deals and ring in the keys to your brand new ride during our Ring in the Savings event at Capital Ford. Like a new 2025 Ford F-250 Super Duty with 0% APR for 60 months. Or a new 2025 Ford Bronco Sport. Just $495 a month lease for 36 months with no money down. This is your year, so drive into 2026 the right way during our Ring in the Savings event at Capital Ford in Santa Fe. This is your year to ring in the deals and ring in the keys to your brand new ride during our Ring in the Savings event at Capital Ford. Like a new 2025 Ford F-250 Super Duty with 0% APR for 60 months. Or a new 2025 Ford Bronco Sport. Just $495 a month lease for 36 months with no money down. This is your year, so drive into 2026 the right way during our Ring in the Savings event at Capital Ford in Santa Fe.
Hey, everybody, welcome in to the Pit Press Live, all the way from Las Vegas, Nevada. Me and Nick here made the trip out to Las Vegas. We're currently at MGM Grand, just right down the street from the Thomas and Mack Center. And man, it's been quite the trip already. We spent all day at the arena yesterday. Quite the experience. I'm on the floor taking photos. Nick's up on press row. Lots of good basketball. Man, it was an extremely impressive day from all the teams that played. Really good turnout from a lot of the fan bases. Man, the Utah State, the Herd really showed out. The San Diego State Aztec, the show fans showed out. And then especially New Mexico, all the fans and the flags made sure to make their trip out to the Pit West. It's been a fun but really long last 24 hours. But we'll probably get into just some of the games, briefly touching on what happened yesterday, what transpired, things we kind of picked up on. If you want to check out some of the game recaps that Nick wrote, they're all on our website, so the pitpressnm.com. We kind of briefly covered in summary how those games went. But Nick, how you feeling, man? We're in Vegas, kind of spent the day just kind of preparing for tonight, but what would your overall takeaway be from yesterday and basically spending our whole day there?
It was awesome, man. Great experience at the Thomas and Mack Center. Started with Utah State and UNLV. Third matchup between those teams, everybody thought UNLV was the team that could get Utah State based on those previous results. But man, a dominant 21-7 run for the Aggies to close the first half really was the difference in the game, Eric. You know, Dre Gibbs-Lawhorn, the leading scorer of the Mountain West Conference, shoots 6 of 17 from the field. He does finish with 17 points. But that was the first game of the day, man. And really, you know, the second game of the day, Nevada GCU, was probably the most competitive score-wise. But oh my gosh, dude, 51 fouls. I mean, Mountain West fans do not want to watch a game with 51 fouls where there's just so much stoppage in play. The third game of the day, Colorado State and San Diego State, a 71-62 win for the Aztecs. You and I talked about it. San Diego State came out, looked like they dominated that game defensively. Offensively, the Aztecs kind of showed their form, so to speak. They were 1 of 11 from the three-point line, 21 of 41 from the free throw line. So not a great offensive effort for San Diego State, but defensively, Miles Bird, Pharaoh Compton, those guys looked locked in. And then the Lobos, man. The Lobos took care of business, 93 points on the board for UNM. I think they just wore San Jose State down as the game went on. But just like you mentioned, a phenomenal atmosphere at the Thomas and Mack Center. Looking forward to two more competitive games here today in the semifinal round.
Yeah, lots of good basketball yesterday. But if you had to pick one team that looked the most impressive offensively, defensively, who do you think looked the best?
I mean, I'd have to go with the Lobos, man. And you look at the score, they scored more points than any other team yesterday, 93 points. Their defensive effort, maybe the first 14 minutes of the game wasn't great. You got to tip your hat to Colby Garland, man. That guy is a phenomenal player. Very difficult to defend out of the pick and roll. You really got to pick and choose, pick your poison. He put UNM in some really tough spots. But if I had to pick a team offensively, it'd be the Lobos. If I had to pick a team defensively, it would be probably San Diego State, man. I think they held Colorado State to under 40% shooting from the field. The only thing that kept CSU in the game was their three-point shooting. They knocked down 13 three-point field goals. But the Aztecs looked very dominant defensively. They forced 15 turnovers, got out in transition. So the Lobos on offense, the Aztecs on defense, that's the matchup we got tonight, 9:30 p.m. in the Thomas and Mack Center.
Yeah, let's break down a little bit of the San Jose State game. I think coming in, they were kind of the shock of the Mountain West tournament because they knocked off somewhat of a trendy pick in Boise State because they're probably one of the most talented teams in terms of size, defense. They were probably one of the hotter teams coming into the tournament, but San Jose State just kind of flipped the script on them and really pushed the pace. Boise State didn't have an answer for Jermaine Washington and for Colby Garland. And that was something that was concerning to us, concerning to Lobo fans. Just how are they going to contain those two? But I think they end up running out of gas kind of midway through that first half. Garland actually goes down with an injury there, kind of like midway through the second half. And you just started to feel that UNM kind of got a better grasp on that game and end up kind of just taking more powerful control. But I mean, what was your kind of key takeaway from the San Jose State game? When do you think the Lobos, I mean, San Jose State played pretty well for the first, would you say 15 minutes of that game, kind of had a lot of Lobo fans, and had the fans at Thomas and Mack were pretty quiet for the most part because they had a lot of answers for the Lobos scoring runs. Lobos jumped out to an 8-0 lead right off the bat with two Jake Hall threes. But San Jose State kind of answered or weathered that storm and ended up taking the lead. But what was your kind of takeaway from that?
Yeah, there were two stretches in the game, Eric, that I thought were key for UNM. The first stretch was in the final 6 minutes of the first half. San Jose State had started 5 of 9 from the three-point line, and then they missed their final 5 three-point field goals in the first half. And just to see San Jose State cool down, man, because, I mean, man, they had 4 different guys knock in a three-pointer. We talked about Garland. We talked about Washington. Number 99, Sadarak Nganga. I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly. Man, that guy in the pick and pop, he was 3 of 7 from the three-point line against UNM yesterday. And so to see San Jose State cool down from the three-point line was an encouraging sign for UNM going into halftime. I think they were up 7. And then there was a stretch in the second half where UNM was up 50 to 43. And Dayton Albury picks the pocket of Colby Garland and then gets a transition slam dunk. To me, that was kind of the turning point in the game where UNM's defense really started to lock in, and fatigue for San Jose State, man. We talked about the minutes that these guys played. I mean, Jermaine Washington and Colby Garland each played 38 minutes on back-to-back nights. Sadarak Nganga. I mean, Coach Miles was working with a 6-man rotation in the semifinal. You got to tip your hat to San Jose State, man. Those guys were playing heavy minutes. I just think, early in that second half, their legs really started to settle in. I'm not sure what the injury for Colby Garland was. I mean, he was limping off the floor when he came out, and then he came right back in. It may have been cramping. But just to ask those guys to log that amount of minutes, they just kind of wore down as the second half went on, and UNM's defense really turned up its defensive pressure, forced some turnovers, got into transition, and the Lobos had a double-digit lead there from pretty much the rest of the way.
Yeah, offensively for UNM, they come in, they have 4 double-figure scores, led by Tomislav Bouillon, who finished with 25 points, but he also grabbed 14 rebounds. I felt like San Jose State didn't really have an answer for him, but the Lobos really started to flex their muscle there in the second half, kind of exposing the overall depth or lack of depth that San Jose State had. But Jake Hall probably had a really impressive showing. He had carried more of his scoring there in the first half. I think San Jose State really keyed on him there in the second half, but that's when other guys like Luke Hopt, 15 points, had a really strong showing in the second half. I don't think we give him enough credit from the terms of how he impacts the game.
For sure.
Not necessarily from a scoring perspective, but he was really effective and active on the defensive end.
Yeah.
Kind of finding some cutters and slashers. He had a really nice pass to Javis Miller on a backdoor to get an easy layup there in the second half. But he had a really strong game. And then Dayton Albury, kind of the snake on, or what is it, the fangs on the snake head. He was just kind of leading the force there. He got into the lane a couple times and really kind of driving force there in the first half. And then one player we've been extremely critical of this whole season, man, Antonio Chol, finally kind of has a breakout moment. 9 points. He kind of goes on his own 6 or 8 point run by himself. But man, what can you say about Antonio Chol? Maybe is this kind of a glimpse to maybe he's trying to get things back on track?
I hope so, man. Eric Olin in the postgame press conference from the Thomas and Mack Center had said that Antonio Chol went up to him and told him, take me out of the starting lineup, put Uriah Tenet in the starting lineup. That's going to be better for our team. And so Chol comes off the bench. He did not have a great first half, let's be honest. He had a turnaround fadeaway jumper that looked like an air ball. And then on the defensive side of the ball, his man, he was guarding Adrian Meyer for San Jose State, number one. He gives up a take to the basket to the rim. So it was really good to see him in the second half have a 7-0 scoring run by himself. A nice take to the basket, finished by a lay-in on the left side. He knocked down a three-pointer, and then he took the ball to the rim one more time. I sent a tweet out, man. Give Antonio Chol his flowers. That's the best sequence we've seen from him probably since the Grand Canyon game on the road. They're going to need him tonight because he's part of the rotation. Whether he starts or not, the ball is going to be in his hands on offense. We need him to knock down a three-pointer or two. And he's going to have to lock in on the defensive side of the ball, man. It's going to be key for him, for the Lobos, for him to give the Lobos something tonight.
Yeah, speaking of starting, I think a lot of people noticed that Antonio Chol wasn't in the starting lineup yesterday. We did listen in post-game presser with Coach Olin on the reasoning with why Uriah Tenet did start over Antonio Chol, and he basically came out and said that Chol came out to him, approached him, and thought that giving Uriah Tenet the start might be kind of a better team fit and give them a better chance. I don't know if it was kind of a matchup perspective in terms of matching up with what San Jose State posed as a risk with two really good, quick, mobile guards, and having a guy like Uriah Tenet who might match up better defensively with the team like that. So I don't know if you think that that's something that they might roll with tonight, but I mean, on the flip side of that, I think the last couple games, the Lobos have really struggled to kind of jump out of the gate with the slow starts, not only in the first half, but the second half. In this game around, they have Uriah Tenet in the starting lineup, and they end up jumping out to an 8-0 lead. So Is that something that you would maybe anticipate Eric Olin going with again in this one?
San Diego State poses some different challenges than San Jose State did. San Diego State has a lot of length out on the perimeter. Not that Uriah Tenet's not going to be in the game with Dayton Albury and the Lobos are going to go small during times of this game. I think they will. It's hard to say, man. It's hard to say. They came out with a strong start. Why mess with something that works? Uriah Tenet had a fantastic stat line yesterday. He finished with 8 points, 9 assists, dude. He had a team-high 9 assists, and I think that was super underrated. We talked about how UNM dominated the paint. The Lobos scored 56 points in the paint. A lot of that comes from Uriah Tenet penetrations to the rim, finding Tomislav Buljan for an easy dump-off pass. So it's hard to say, man. I'm not going to say what Eric Olin's going to come out with, what he's not. Uriah Tenet is going to be in the game during crunch time. Antonio Chol is going to see his minutes as well. So it's hard to say, man. Me personally, I probably would stick with Tenet in the lineup. Why not? You came out strong, up 8-0 against San Jose State, like you mentioned. So I'd probably roll with Tenet, but we'll see what Coach Olin does.
Yep. So did mention that the Lobos had four guys score in double digits. Uriah Tenet 1 point off to getting two double digits, and Antonio Chol scores 9 points. So essentially, these guys had about 6 guys potentially scoring in double digits for the Lobos. Yep. Something we talked about, I think consistently what we've seen over the last couple of games is the Lobos finding 3 guys to get to that double figure number and kind of carrying the load. But this was more of a shared effort, more of a collective being in a game against San Diego State, which we'll kind of talk about now, is where are the points going to come from? Because in the game against Colorado State, San Diego State really flexed their muscle. They were physical. They were really active. Defensive player of the year and Miles Bird was really effective on the defensive end. And they just kind of caused so many issues for Colorado State to kind of get into their offensive rhythm, not getting any really clean looks. So things started to change a little bit in the second half when they knocked down some threes. But it's no secret that San Diego State is as good as they are because of their defense, right? Like they struggled on the offensive side, but for them to miss as many free throws as they did, they missed about 20, 21 free throws. They go 1 for 11 from the 3-point line, but then to still win by 9 points in a neutral site game kind of speaks volumes to what and how effective their defense was. So turning the page to how the Lobos might match up with San Diego State in the season series this year. Both split. Lobos win that one at the Pit, and San Diego State wins theirs at Viejas Arena. This is the rubber match for these two teams. But a little history on the matchup, and credit to Jeff Grammer on posting his article today on the Albuquerque Journal. If you don't already, we highly encourage you guys subscribe to the Albuquerque Journal. Jeff does a great job covering the team from the beat perspective. But this is going to be the 8th matchup for New Mexico and San Diego State in the Mountain West Tournament. The Lobos lead that series, winning 5 times out of the 7 times they played before. And a little fun key stat with that is every winner of this matchup in the Mountain West history, that winner has gone on to actually win the outright title. So a lot of implications here, and kind of a lot of the bracketologists around the country, too, are talking about this game possibly being an elimination game for kind of any sort of at-large chances for this team. So winner obviously moves on to the Mountain West title game to face the winner of Utah State and Nevada. But, man, we've come to know this matchup and this rivalry kind of being one of the key games and rivalries in not only the conference, but here at Thomas and Mack and back in the day when they used to play in Denver for the Mountain West tournament. So what would you expect for tonight's atmosphere to look like? Definitely a defensive battle. But focusing on the scoring part for UNM, how does UNM score on a really good, efficient defensive team?
Yeah, man. Tomislav Buljan has had monster games for UNM in the 2 times that they've played San Diego State. The first time he has 20 points, 14 rebounds. Second time at the Pit a couple weeks ago, 24 points, 18 rebounds. How has UNM gotten him the ball? You know, Coach Olin has come out and talked in post-game press conferences. We are looking for mismatches because San Diego State likes to switch defensively. They play a man-to-man defensive scheme. Anytime a ball screen or an off-ball screen gets set, San Diego State likes to switch defensively, and so UNM is hunting for mismatches. We're going to have to see how San Diego State plays that. We saw down the stretch of the second half at the Pit, San Diego State seemed to switch their defensive coverage. They were switching less, playing more drop coverage, keeping bigger players like Miles Heide, Pharaoh Compton on Buljan so that smaller guards like B.J. Davis or Elsie Harrington, who won't be available to play because he's out. But so they don't get so many mismatches on Tomislav Buljan. That's going to be key, man, to see if UNM can exploit mismatches defensively if San Diego State does switch. If not, you know, I think the Lobos are going to have to get out and transition a little bit. You think about the first matchup at Viejas, the Lobos forced 16 San Diego State turnovers. They're able to get some points off turnovers, some fast break points. And I think the Lobos are going to have to shoot the ball well, man. Jake Hall's been on a heater the second half of conference, the Mountain West Conference Freshman of the Year, first team All Mountain West Conference. He made 5 3-pointers in the Thomas and Mack Center. It seems like he's very comfortable shooting the ball here. So UNM is going to have to find mismatches if San Diego State does switch. They're going to have to get into the paint with dribble penetration. You know, Dayton Albury here at the Pit, when they played San Diego State the first time, he goes 0 for 10 from the field. So they're going to have a better showing from him. They're going to have to get 2 feet in the paint. They're going to have to shoot the ball well if the Lobos are going to win in the semifinal here today.
Yeah, I think focusing on those switches you were talking about, I think kind of exposing that if they are going to switch, obviously getting balls down into the mismatches. But I think they're also going to have to get some contribution from their guards on the perimeter. I would look for maybe some kickouts if doubles are going to start to come to Buljan, maybe even to TJ or JT Rock. Guys are going to have to hit shots from the outside. I thought we did a decent job of getting some open looks on the perimeter yesterday, but that ball is going to have to move. They're going to have to swing the ball from side to side, and I really think that they're going to have to limit turnovers too. Like you don't want to give San Diego State any additional chances. They just really did a good job of speeding Colorado State guards up. Colorado State struggled to get into any sort of set or rhythm. San Diego State at one point ended up putting a press on them, and Colorado State had a hard time not only inbounding the ball but getting the ball across the timeline too. So I would look for San Diego State to come in and be really effective on the defensive side, really aggressive, and really try to push the pace and almost bully the Lobos to the point where they're kind of playing at a pace that they're not comfortable at. So having ball handlers on the floor who are okay with dealing with pressure, Uriah Tedet has shown to be able to do that. Dayton Elberry can do that too. I think he can get to the basket, but he's also been prone to some turnovers too. So looking at the guard matchup, right? Like you have guys like Dayton Elberry, Uriah Tedet going up against guys like Bird and BJ Davis. I don't think BJ Davis gets talked about enough for San Diego State. Really effective. And at one point, I think he was one of the top 2 or 3 players in the country in terms of scoring that comes off the bench. So had a really good showing yesterday. What are you looking forward to in this like guard-to-guard matchup, and who dictates the pace?
Yeah, for sure, man. And you got to tip your hat to Miles Bird. You know, he's taken a lot of flack from Mountain West Conference fans for underperforming the high expectations that were set for him. You know, he was preseason Mountain West Conference Player of the Year, and he ended up being Mountain West Defensive Player of the Year. But, you know, it all starts on the defensive end for San Diego State, like we talked about. You talked about BJ Davis. He was 4 of 8, 3 of 7 with 11 points against the Lobos in the pit the last time these teams played. But the game before that, you know, when we played them at Viejas, he makes the winning shot. So to me, he's one of their shot makers for San Diego State. He can get into the paint. He can pull up mid-range. He can also hit the three-point shot. One guy we haven't talked about for San Diego State is Reese Dixon Waters. Against Utah State at home, when San Diego State played Utah State at home, he buries 3 threes, all coming from the left corner, and he's somebody that can get going for San Diego State offensively as well. Another guy that San Diego State, someone to watch out for, Taj DeGorville, number 24, comes off the bench against Utah State. He had 8 assists, and we were sitting with Joe O'Neill of 101.7 The Team yesterday during the Colorado State-San Diego State game, and he was like, who's that guy, man? He can handle the ball really well for his size. And DeGorville, I think he's listed around 6'5", 6'6", really long arms. So, you know, San Diego State has a lot of talented players on this roster, man. And I think lengthwise, 1 through 5, they've got a lot more than UNM does. So the Lobos are going to have their hands full, man. I think it's going to be a great matchup with some good guards. It's going to, you know, it may come down to how San Diego State defends Tomislav Buljan in the ball screen. But yeah, man, I'm looking forward to the matchup tonight. I really am.
Yeah, looking at the front court, right? I think with the monster games that Buljan has had, San Diego State's also got some really good bigs. You look at guys as starters. Heidi has been really effective. Yep. Obviously, you have guys like Guath. Guath, I think, actually came off the bench in yesterday's game. Farrell Compton is another kind of really athletic, big lefty. Finishes really well like with his back to the basket. But he's kind of a high flyer too. He caught some alley-oops. He actually got one against UNM and caught one against Colorado State here yesterday. So just kind of really impressive, the depth that San Diego State has, the athleticism, the length. Yeah. So I think the Lobos definitely have their hands full with this matchup. But looking forward to the atmosphere. I think San Diego State fans really turned out, and then the New Mexico fans are really turned out too. And from what we're kind of following on Twitter, we kind of expect it to be close to, I don't know, what would you say, 12 to 13,000?
Yeah.
Between both fan bases. I think some other schools might be there too. But reinforcements are on the way is what I'm hearing in terms of Twitter. People are traveling up from Albuquerque, New Mexico to catch the Lobos in the semifinals. So any final thoughts on the matchup or maybe some expectation? It's been a really fun time here in Las Vegas.
Yeah. Dude, this is the 101st meeting between UNM and San Diego State, the final matchup that we'll see for the foreseeable future. UNM owns the matchup 53-47. So even if San Diego State wins today, UNM will end this rivalry for the foreseeable future, having a winning record in it. But what a gift, man. You know, we weren't sure if we were going to see these teams again. We had Mark Ziegler on of the San Diego Union Tribune after the Lobos defeated San Diego State 81-76 a couple Saturdays ago. And he was saying there's a very good chance that these teams could meet up in the conference semifinal. We got the matchup we wanted. You talked about the atmosphere at the Thomas and Mack Center. Before, when the game started, San Diego State and Colorado State, the third quarterfinal matchup, I didn't think there were that many San Diego State fans there. And then as the game went on, they really showed out. They had a very good turnout. Fiend was there from Sons of Montezuma. Some of those other guys were there. So I'm expecting a fantastic atmosphere, man. But maybe I'm a homer, maybe I'm not. I don't think anything beats Pitt West and the Thomas and Mack Center. Coach Olin said it felt like a home game, and it sounded like a home game. I mean, this was my first time covering the Mountain West Conference Tournament. Man, when the Lobos went on their runs yesterday against San Jose State, there was no better fan base at the Thomas and Mack Center than Lobo Nation. And so UNM's going to need a strong turnout from Pitt West here today.
Yeah, looking forward to it. If you want to kill some time before you get to the pit, you're traveling, you're having a beer, you're going to be joining the pep rally at Tom's Watch, or what's it called?
I think it's Tom's Watch at New York, New York. Starts at 5 p.m. Pacific time.
Right on. Well, make sure you guys check that out. Visit Pit Press NM. Check out our website. We actually covered all the games yesterday, all written material presented by Nick. Did a really good job. I took all the photos. So really fun to be here. If you guys see us, say hi to us. But for the Pit Press Live from Las Vegas, I am Eric Moulton. This is Nick Nunez. We want to thank everyone for tuning in. Hopefully the Lobos prevail tonight, and depending on how things go, we'll bring another live show, probably some more content. We'll be here the rest of the weekend. So everyone have fun at the game. Stay safe. Have a beer for us. We'll talk to you guys later.